The Prince Who Sought the Truth. The shadow on the castle wall. High atop the mist-shrouded battlements of Elsinore, the air grew cold enough to bite. Prince Soren stood with his loyal companion, Finian, watching the swirling gray fog. For nights, the guards had spoken of a silent figure roaming the walls, a figure that wore the armor of the late king. Finian pointed into the gloom, his hand trembling as a pale, shimmering light began to take shape against the dark stone, beckoning the prince to follow into the silence of the night. Moral: the past has a way of coming back to light. The ghost's secret. The spectral figure stopped in a secluded grove where the trees leaned in like hushed conspirators. As Soren approached, the ghost of his father revealed a heavy secret. He had not passed peacefully in his sleep, but had been betrayed by his own brother Valdemar, who now wore the crown. The ghost's voice was like the rustle of dry leaves, demanding that Soren seek justice for the kingdom. Soren felt a chill that had nothing to do with the night air, as he realized the true nature of his uncle's rise to power. Moral: truth is the first step toward justice. A prince with a burden, Soren returned to the palace, but the world felt different. Every hallway seemed to hold an ear, and every smile from his uncle King Valdemar felt like a trap. The prince spent hours in the great library, surrounded by old scrolls and a single watchful raven. He wrestled with a difficult choice. Should he believe the vision and act quickly, or wait and search for proof? His mind became a labyrinth of what-ifs, and the weight of the secret grew heavier with every passing hour. Moral: a heavy heart often carries the weight of others' secrets. The Mask of Madness. To protect himself while he searched for the truth, Soren put on a mask of strange behavior. He spoke in riddles and acted as though his mind had wandered into the clouds. Even Lyra, the daughter of the king's advisor, could not understand him. One afternoon in the castle gardens, he spoke to her with words that sounded like nonsense, though his eyes remained sharp and sad. Lyra watched him with a heart full of worry, realizing that the prince she knew was fading behind a veil of confusion. Moral: deception, even for a good cause, can hurt those we love. The play within the palace. Soren devised a clever plan to see if the king's heart was truly guilty. He invited a troupe of traveling actors to perform a play that mirrored the ghost's story. As the actors mimed the betrayal on stage, Soren did not watch the performance. He watched King Valdemar. When the moment of the betrayal was depicted, Valdemar stood up abruptly, his face pale as salt, and demanded the lights be lit. Soren had his answer, written in the king's terrified eyes. Moral: guilt is a mirror that reveals the soul. A guilty conscience. Following the play, Soren found Valdemar alone in the royal chapel. The king was on his knees, trying to find words of prayer, but his conscience was too heavy to let his spirit rise. Soren stood in the shadows behind a massive stone pillar, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. He had the chance to end the king's reign there, but he hesitated. He realized that a victory born of a moment of weakness might not be the justice his father truly desired. Moral: true peace cannot be found through dishonest gain. Choices made in anger. Soren went to see his mother, Queen Elin, to explain the truth. Their conversation grew heated as Soren's frustration boiled over. Sensing movement behind a heavy wall tapestry, Soren thought the king was spying on them and struck out in a flash of temper. To his horror, it was not the king, but the elderly advisor, Lord Alaric, who had been hiding there. The queen gasped in terror, and Soren realized that his impulsive anger had caused a tragedy he never intended. Moral: anger often clouds the path to wisdom. A kingdom of secrets. King Valdemar, fearing Soren's knowledge, decided to send the prince across the sea to the distant kingdom of England. He claimed it was for Soren's safety, but secretly, he gave the messengers a sealed letter containing a dark command. As Soren stood on the foggy docks, he looked back at the castle of Elsinore. He knew he was being exiled, but he also knew that the truth was a passenger on the ship with him, and it could not be drowned by the waves. Moral: distance cannot hide what the heart knows. The Loyal Friend and the Lost Maiden. While Soren was away, grief and confusion took their toll on the palace. Lyra, heartbroken by her father Alaric's passing and Sorin's strange behavior, spent her days wandering by the river. Finian tried to comfort her, offering a steady hand and kind words, but Lyra's spirit was like a bird with a broken wing. She gathered wildflowers and sang soft, sad songs to the water. Finian watched over her, realizing that the secrets of the crown were destroying the innocent as well as the guilty. Moral: kindness is the greatest comfort in times of sorrow. The road to revenge. Lyra's brother Calin returned from his travels to find his family in ruins. His heart was filled with a hot, blinding desire for revenge. King Valdemar saw an opportunity and whispered poisonous words into Calin's ear, blaming Sorin for everything. He showed Calin a beautifully crafted, sharp sword and suggested a duel to settle the score. Calin, blinded by his pain, did not see that he was being used as a tool in the king's desperate game to stay in power. Moral: hatred is a fire that consumes the one who carries it. The final duel. Sorin returned to Elsinore, and the duel was set. The palace hall was filled with golden light and long shadows. Sorin and Calin faced each other, not with hatred, but with the weight of their choices. As they fought, the king's ultimate treachery was revealed when he tried to interfere. In the chaos, Calin realized the king's deceit and shared the truth with Sorin. The duel ended not in triumph, but in a somber understanding of the cost of their feud and the ultimate fall of the dishonest king. Moral: violence rarely solves the problems that pride created. The lesson of the prince. The sun rose over a quiet Elsinore. The reign of Valdemar was over, and the truth was finally known to all. Finian, the only one who had remained true throughout the storm, sat on the castle steps with a young boy from the village named Rune. He held a small golden crown in his hands and began to tell the story of the prince who sought the truth and the king who cared too little. The kingdom would heal, but only because the cycle of revenge had finally been broken by honesty. Moral: to be truly brave is to choose the right action at the right time.